Breedinum Radio, brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors, your source for all things deer hunting and the rut here in New York State, right in your backyard, so you can get up in the stand and pound them all season long.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 5 of Breedinum Radio. This is your host, Billy, and I've got little Bill Dan here with me. Do you want to say something, Bill? You want to say something? Say something. Okay, that's the microphone. Let go. Bill, let go. Did you have to say something? Are they breeding? Say it. Okay. Bill, he just is deep breathing and he's real excited about the fuzzy thing on the microphone. So, quick intro here, and then we'll just get right into it. This week's Breedinum Radio do not have any kill stories for you, but we think we've got some good conversation. And so Jimbo and I will be talking about kind of an archery recap, and then getting into our plans for opening day and some of the family tradition that goes with that. And then lastly, Uncle Chris Harvey, will be jumping on to just tell us a little story about a buck that he did hit last week on the 8th of November, and told us about his tracking job that he put on it. And it was hilarious. Bill thinks it's a real funny story, but it's not, because the deer was never found. So I thought it was good to have Uncle Chris on, and he talks about a lot of the things that he did during the track, and our things that we talked about on our podcast last week. What Dad, Jimmy, and I talked about, kind of our approach to tracking. So enjoy the podcast. Good luck this weekend if you're getting out there. And like Billy said, keep feeding them.
What's up, Big Jim?
Oh, just out making that money.
Making that money. Sweet. So you and I wanted to get together, kind of give a quick wrap up. This is going to be our Breedinum Radio episode for the week. Not a whole lot to report as far as bucks hitting the ground. There were some guys that we know that had some success last weekend, but it was not as hot and successful as it had been the past couple weeks. So right. I guess kind of jumping right into it. We had some excitement last week on our property with the buck that we're calling Frank and Beans, the big 11 point. So I had my trail camera Thursday morning. We running the cell cam, and my camera fired up first thing in the morning about 7:30, and between 7:30 and almost 10 o'clock, got several pictures of Frank and Beans with we'll call him F&B for short. So he was definitely in the brush in front of my camera with a doe, and there was a bunch of different bucks that were cycling through in front of the camera with her being hot in there. So it seemed to be that things were going on Thursday, and then I guess kind of fast forward to, you grabbed your trail camera cards when you were up there over the weekend on Saturday, and then I guess run into your encounter you had on Saturday morning with him.
Yeah, so I got a cell camera not too far from yours there in what we call the middle meadow, and I didn't really get much of anything on it on Thursday when you were getting all the pictures, but I ended up I have another trail camera in there that's just it's on a big tree in the middle of the meadow, and it's just kind of shooting, see what's feeding. And I actually had, I think, 4 bucks in there at once at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and one of them was F&B. And he was just kind of circling the food plot. And then there was a couple other ones in there, decent ones. They all looked like they're kind of all standing there looking at each other like they'd been fighting all day or whatever. It was kind of a cool picture. But so I didn't know I had those until Saturday afternoon. We had to camp Friday night. We all overslept and hit our snoozes too long on Saturday morning, and we got up to the top of the hill, and I jumped into this tree I call a squeaky tree, and it's on the front crest of our hill. And on the way up, I saw some does down over the side hill, and I was going to go way to the back, and I'm like, I always catch deer coming up off this side hill in the morning. I'll sit here. So I come up and around and then drop back down into the crest. And no longer did I get up there and pull my bow up, I could hear something coming. And I'm struggling to get an arrow knocked, and get ready, and I get an arrow knocked, and I get clipped on. I can see the deer coming. It's a buck, and it was a decent buck, but I caught movement behind it, and ended up being Frank and Beans. But he walked right up. I hung my bow back up, and I'm trying to get my camera out quick so I can get video of this going by. And he ended up there was really no wind, but there must have been a little drift uphill from the thermals. And he hit that and stopped on a dime. Kind of played that game where he just kind of one step backwards at a time. You could tell something wasn't right. He didn't turn and run off, but he kind of turned around and snuck back down the hill. So pretty cool encounter. I've never seen, we get all these giant bucks on trail camera, but never get to see them out in the woods. And I don't know if they thought I was another deer up there messing around or what. There was some snow on. It was pretty crunchy. I don't know if they heard me walking into my stand and thought it was another deer up there and they were coming to investigate or what. But I can't really tell you what the first buck was because I saw a decent horn, and then when I saw Frank and Beans behind him, I didn't even look at him again. So I'm not really sure what he was, but I want to say he was a decent 2.5-year-old. So then Adam was down below me, and he saw some chasing going on down there. A decent 8-point was chasing the doe around. So Saturday it definitely seemed like things were happening a little bit, but it definitely seemed like 2 weekends ago there I was seeing quite a bit of chasing on top of the hill, and then this weekend there was not much going on up there. But then Adam was seeing it down below, so it's kind of funny how it goes in waves. But all the signs shows up first down below, but we saw chasing first up top, and now it's going on down below. So pretty interesting to follow along with.
It is kind of interesting, and it seems to go up and down the hill, and whether there's different doe groups that live in those different areas on the property, and they just come into cycle at different times, and that kind of moves the bucks around or what. But Friday morning, I went up there Friday morning. I had last Friday the 8th off, and I was really optimistic that buck was going to be in that brush with the doe. And I've seen it before in that pocket of brush where it draws other deer in, and my stand is in just a great spot right outside of that brush, and I can get bucks kind of coming into that to check what's going on in there. So I was hoping and praying that that's what was going to happen, and I ended up seeing 2 bucks that morning, but the wind was straight out of the north, and the one buck came in straight behind me, and I did see him. It was very quiet. There was a good amount of snow on the ground, so it was super, super quiet. But I had just kind of been looking over my shoulder, and I looked at my watch, and it was I looked at my phone. It was 9:30, and the last time I'd seen a deer was 8:30. And it's funny. It seems like on the hour, it's almost like you see one, and then you wait about an hour, and you'll get another one cruising through. And that buck was coming straight right on the deer trail and just kind of cruising. And he was straight downwind of me, and he hit my wind, and he didn't blow or nothing, but kind of like you said with Frank and Beans, he just knew that there's something wasn't right, and he hit the brakes, kind of turned around, and he didn't go back where he came from. He just looped way down around me and got away from what he smelled or whatever he was feeling was not going to be good for him if he kept walking, and he looped around. But it is kind of interesting to see that. And as I'm sitting here thinking about Friday, I've got the day off again, and I think I'm going to get right back in that tree and just give it one more shot, because I've sat that stand twice so far this year, and I've seen bucks every time I sit there just cruising mid-morning. So I think it's a great area, and we'll see what happens. But the cameras have definitely quieted down during this week. I don't know what's your camera. Sure. You haven't gotten any pics or nothing?
I got that little 8-point swoop on camera this week, actually last night. And then I had the does in there.
What time?
Right before
the storm. Was that?
And he was in there middle of the night last night.
Okay.
So nothing daylight since the doe groups have been feeding through.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting, but
I'm optimistic that we can still catch 1 or 2 does in our doe group that might be still sticking around or coming into it for the weekend. Yep. So if that could happen, we could have a really good opening day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, kind of reflecting back on archery season, you shot a buck the first Friday of season. Didn't even get into the first weekend. Are you happy with your decision after what's transpired over the last month, or how are you reflecting on that?
I probably would have hunted a lot harder and, been a lot more stressed out hadn't I shot that buck. And, you called me Saturday busting my chops after I had Franken beans at 15 yards broadside. You're like, bet you're pissed off. And I'm like, you know what? I could have not shot that nice 8-point I shot, and I never would have seen Franken beans. So kind of is what it is for me. I shot a nice buck. And for me, what I've been doing the last couple of years, I just assume go out and get a decent buck with my bow and then worry later about putting one on the wall. So
yeah,
I'm going to try to fill the freezer here, and if I have something such as that walk by, I will try to harvest it and, put the meat in the freezer and hang it on the wall. But for me, getting one good buck and getting it with your bow, if I can do that and stack up some does for the freezer, I'm happy.
Yeah.
These big ones are so elusive that you're not, with how much time we put into the woods, you like to think it would happen every time, but how many years have we gone without seeing one of those deer? So
I know.
The common theme that I got to see them.
Just the common theme that's come from talking to everybody over the last month and, their stories, a lot of guys, they weren't hunting a specific deer. They weren't in a spot that they've hunted a bunch. There's been a bunch of people that have just been hunting a new spot, and you get an opportunity. And most of these guys, it's the only opportunity they had all archery, and you just don't get, you can, if you're a professional hunter or somebody that does it for a living and you're in a tree literally for 60 days a year, you might have 4 or 5 shot opportunities. But if you're just a weekend warrior, you get a day off here or there, when you get an opportunity, if it's something that trips your trigger, you just, that's where I'm getting it. This year, for the first year in probably 5 seasons, I didn't have a single shot opportunity at a buck that I wanted to shoot. I had one buck that was, he might have just been a good yearling. He was a nice little 8-point, but it just didn't do it for me. That's the only opportunity I had to this point. Hopefully tomorrow, the 15th of November, the last day of archery, I get a shot at one, but you just don't get many opportunities. So capitalize on them when you do get them is, I think, what we're all learning.
Yeah, and that farm I shot that 8-point on, I've hunted there 2 or 3 years now, and I've always seen good buck, and I've never gotten a shot opportunity there before. So to be able to go in there and see how hot things were right off the bat with the acorns and the beans there, and all the trail cam pictures I had and all the bucks I was seeing already, I couldn't pass up that opportunity. I went back there for the first time 2 weekends ago on Sunday afternoon, try to kill a doe, and there was just nothing going on there. All the leaves are down. The small block of woods that there is wide open. And the block of corn that is there is further over to the east that they're not even getting close to it. They're not crossing back and forth or anything. So I might give it a try later in gun season when things die down. I had some good pictures last year at the end of the season there, but I'm happy I did what I did. It was a great hunt right off the bat. Took the pressure off and got a nice buck, so not going to complain there at all.
Nope. Amen to that. It's good stuff, Jimbo.
Yeah.
So you're currently up, is it 2-1 or 3-1? I can't keep track.
2-1.
2-1. So the gap is not too big.
No, that's the only thing that I'm a little upset about the last month about it. You're still only down by 1. That's the only thing that's got me a little upset. Because I've had some opportunities on does, but I've just been trying to be smarter with my compound and not push shots. And my buddy screwed up his rotator cuff, so I gave him my crossbow. So he's been using that. But if I'd have had that thing, I definitely would have had a couple more does by now. But just like I was hunting on the ground Sunday night, had one walk right up to me, but getting drawn back without spooking them, and I didn't have a ton of cover. makes it difficult. You know, if I'd have had a crossbow, I flicked the safety off and shot it. Wouldn't have been a problem. But then I had another one come in Tuesday night. I got out over at Howlett's, and I was sitting in the ladder stand, and Greg got busted out of it last week, and there was some fresh snow on it. You could see the tracks walking right up to the base of the tree, sniffing it. And then when the doe came across my boot track, she followed it right to the base of the tree and looked right up at me. And, you know, it was so cold and freaking crisp, you know, if you tried to move your foot at all on that freaking steel grate of the ladder stand, it would make a little creak, and she'd look right up. And it was just impossible. I wasn't getting drawn back on it. So, you got lucky. I'm going to give you that.
Yep. So the last thing we'll hit on kind of from archery, and then, you know, talking about this buck, Franken Beans, it's been really fun with that deer so far this season because we're really, I mean, we've gotten a lot of pictures of him. He's been pretty local to our property, you know, both right down in the middle of the property on the side hill as well as up on top of the mountain. And and so putting a lot of the stuff out on Instagram and Facebook, we've actually connected with quite a few people from around our area where the camp is, down in the Naples area. So it's pretty cool to be connecting with folks, and other people are seeing this deer too. So trying to put all the pieces together. And I don't know that we've ever had a deer like this that I'm not going to say we even remotely haven't patterned, but to have this much intel on a deer of this caliber that is not typically something that we see in our area, it's really exciting. And, you know, kind of connecting with those folks and seeing when they're seeing him or when they're getting him on camera. And it's got everybody around us pretty excited. It's fun, all the text messages going back and forth, and, you know, talking to, you had met a kid, his name is Hunter. You met him back during turkey season, and we've been in touch with him. He's a high schooler at Naples Central Schools, and, you know, he's living the dream. He's at that age where he can, you know, hunt wide open. All he's got to worry about is school and chasing deer, turkeys, or fish, whatever. So it's just been a lot of fun to connect with these different folks, and I hope that somebody gets to put their hands on that deer here, maybe this weekend.
I hope so too. If somebody could
hopefully
put that
it's one
deer
of us.
down, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
hopefully it's somebody from our crew, specifically me.
Yeah, right. You don't want to be greedy, but yeah, it'd be nice.
I'm the only one that's seen him in person, so I feel like I got a connection with him now.
You do. You
Pretty
definitely
sure
do.
he stuck his fucking tongue out at me too, bastard.
Yeah, he's like.
I was taking pictures of it, and I'm pretty sure he looked right at me and stuck his tongue out.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, I got your number now. I'm just going to sneak out of here and walk away. You'll never see me again. But,
hope that's
I was
not the case, Jim.
gonna hunt the Nature Conservancy with you, but after having that happen to me, I just can't bring myself to not go try to get him, you know.
Yeah. So let's step right into that. So what's your game plan for the weekend for the opener on Saturday?
So my thoughts were I would go to that stand where I saw him for probably the first hour or two, and then after that sneak down to a spot where I can watch that side hill that he came off of. Because if you look at all the pictures that we've got of him and the sighting that I had, I kind of did what you did and laid it out on Onyx, and that deer has been just all over our property, and the only spot that's kind of centrally located is that side hill.
Mm-hmm. Where we know there's bedding and where we know there's cover.
Yeah. That's kind of our sanctuary. We don't go in there. And that's where he came up out of when I saw him, and that's what's in the middle of all of the trail cam pictures and sightings we've had of him, is that bedding area. So my thought is if I don't see him trying to come out of there at first light like I did last weekend, I'll try to sneak down there to a point where I can watch that side hill and hopefully catch him moving midday or something, just wandering around in there getting up to stretch his legs or something.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe that he's going too far with how many pictures we've had of him.
Yeah. I can't imagine either, especially once the pressure gets on. It seems like he's definitely frequented that area. So you'd have to imagine that we know we've shot a lot of deer off that side hill, and we, you know, kind of as a rule of thumb, we don't go up there We'll hunt the edges of it, but we won't go up into the middle of that side hill. And it's a pretty good sized area. So I think it's a great idea. And then the other thing that we've got going for us is we have an odd wind for Saturday for opening day. We really, this time of year, we don't get east winds, and our mountain face east, and we don't get a lot of very true wind. But one of the only winds that we do get that is kind of consistent and true, well, I guess it'd be an east, a north, or a south. Anything out of the west, with the way the mountains line up there, we're off the end of the Finger Lakes, so you kind of have these long mountains, but then the mountain we're on is its own standalone mountain. It's, I don't know how big you'd say it is, but probably all the way around the base is probably 4 miles, 5 miles.
Yeah.
If you were to kind of go all the way around it. So when the wind hits that out of the west or the southwest or the northwest, it just spins around that. You can't predict it.
Yeah, actually.
But if you get anything north, straight north, or out of the east or straight south, it's pretty true to it. The wind.
Yeah, when you get to your regular west wind, it almost turns into a south wind on our property.
Yeah, comes up around the south end of it, and
yeah.
So where I was getting at with that is that if you think about it, it's going to be a pretty light wind. It'll be out of the east, and then you also will have the thermals coming up. So in the morning that could be a great spot because that buck, not only if he's looking for protection, but if he's looking to smell anything that's going on down below where a lot of the does hang, he can just be up there right off the crest of the hill, where you're trying to get after him. So I don't know.
I'll have to rub some smelly bacon grease or something on Adam so his scent drifts up the hill.
Yeah. Don't tell him.
Top first thing in the morning.
Put some bacon grease rags in his backpack and don't tell him.
Yeah. Get them all nice and stinky. Send the deer right up the hill to me.
Yep.
So
I've been wavering. Go ahead. Sorry.
If I make it till 8 o'clock and I don't see him taking the first doe I see. There's nothing better than shooting deer on opening day. And I'm not going to wait all day for it.
Nope. So that's your game plan. And Jesus, Jim. I mean, come on. What are you going to say here?
Yeah. The delay on these phone calls is a little difficult sometimes.
Yes, it is. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I just did. I said the delay on these phone calls is a little difficult sometimes.
That's all you were going to say, and you cut me off.
No. That's what I said after we couldn't get a word in edgewise. It's your turn to talk now.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. So the game plan all along was that you and I were going to hunt the Nature Conservancy again. We're not.
Yeah.
So you've changed your mind. Then I'm like in between. I don't know what the hell to do because I don't disagree at all with what you're doing, but I also have hunted a lot of these same spots every year after year for opening day, and I've never really had a great day on opening day. The following day, Sunday, is typically a pretty good day on our property. A lot of the deer move onto our property after the pressure hits elsewhere. So I'm going to stick with my original plan. I'm going to go up in to the Nature Conservancy, and I've had kind of after what we witnessed up there last year with all the pressure and the folks on the property that shouldn't have been on the property, but yet all the deer that were moving from that. I really want. I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that because that's really a one-day thing. There's all the pressure that comes on opening day up there. We never really experience that later on in the season. So that's my game plan. I'm going to try to get up there real early, try to probably leave camp at 4:30 and get down there and get up to the top before everyone else starts running around and get to where I want to be. And hopefully everything comes together up there. But
I was
see.
thinking about it, and you were going back and forth, and I could just see if you were on our property. Adam's going to be there, Dad. I don't know if Bob Madigan's coming up. I guess Joe's going to hunt opening day up there with us. So
okay.
There's going to be quite a bit of people around, so it's not going to be like you're in a secluded area. It seems like once we get that many people on our property, you don't see anything moving. They're probably laying up on the side hill, but they're not going to be moving around. So,
yep.
Don't blame you for going over to the Nature Conservancy. You know you're going to see a bunch of deer, so it's going to be a good hunt.
Yeah, might need to call some backup in. I'm going to do the same thing as you. I'm going to give the first hour or two for a buck, and then after that, I'm going to be, doe or buck hunting. So, and I'm taking game bags, so I figure if I do get something, I'm probably going to quarter it up, especially if I get it early, quarter it up and get it hanging, and then just kind of let the day play out. But keep the phone on already.
Yeah, I'm only coming over if it's a big one, so don't waste your time finding a little one.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a big buck, I expect some help. But if it's a doe, I can easily get a doe out myself.
You shoot a big old buck, and I'll be there in a hurry.
All right, deal.
I'll shoot a doe on the way to help you out.
So the next thing I wanted to hit on quickly is just kind of our the tradition that we have with opening day, and anybody who does hunt and does have had tradition around this, definitely gets it. And this is definitely a day that I know myself growing up, it was always, you idolized Dad and uncle and our uncles and Grandpa and everybody that was going to deer camp for opening day. So it's what does opening day and all the tradition mean to you that we have?
I mean, normally every year it seems like I'm rushing around to get there. We do normally. Dad and Mike take Thursday or Friday off, go up Thursday night, spend Friday there, kind of just getting everything ready and set up, and then wait for people to start arriving. So normally in the past I haven't taken Friday off because I've used up all my time in archery trying to kill a buck. But since I got one early this year, I kept some of my vacation time, and I took Friday off. So me and Mike are going down Friday morning. I know Dad, I believe he was working on the stew last night or tonight.
He was doing it last night.
Grandpa used to make the stew for us, so Dad kind of took that over. So we always do a good stew and some cheese and crackers and some drinks. And Uncle Tim and Uncle Chris, they hunt Lima on opening day, but they come up and have dinner with us, and everybody's sharing stories. And Bob Madigan, the guy that built the cabin, he normally stops up still and shares some stories with us, reminisce about the past. And just a good night. That's pretty much the only night all year long that we'll have everybody in camp. So I remember growing up, Dad used to have us up there, or he'd be leaving to go up there, and it's like you'd be sitting there watching him drive away, and you'd be all pissed off and crying, and all you wanted to do was be up there for that night, So definitely been.
It was kind of cool. It's like a rite of passage thing, once you.
Yeah, definitely.
Once you get to that age, I can remember Grandpa, I think we were maybe like 11 or 12. At that point, Grandpa wasn't spending the night every night up there. Like, he would come home and stay with Grandma. And so Grandpa would, bring you and I down. And, it always seemed like such a huge, big ordeal, which now looking at what we do, it isn't some huge, great, big extravaganza. It's just a really fun night. But, I mean, as a kid and somebody new coming into it, it's like, oh man, everybody's here and there's energy in the cabin, and it's just, you can't beat it. It's the best. It is the best day of the year, if you ask me. Just the excitement of coming up to opening day. Last year was probably the first year I didn't overdrink too, because I knew I had to hike all the way into the Nature Conservancy. Right. So we had like 17 inches of snow. We had to hike a mile uphill in. Yeah, so I definitely took it a little easier last year on the night before opening day than I normally do. But so what does that mean for this year? Are you going to overdrink? Probably, knowing that I have a four-wheeler there right up the hill in the morning. Yeah. So, it's definitely just one of those nights that you look forward to, and nice to get everybody together at camp and laughing and joking and having a good time. And then you get to sit there and twirl your thumbs in bed all night because you can't wait to get out in the woods in the morning. Yep. That's the truth, man. So I'm hoping to. I'm gonna have the podcast here, and we'll see. I might try to do some live, pointing the microphone in people's faces and see what their thoughts are for opening day. And maybe see if I can, because it's hilarious, because you talked last week, you were telling me that you guys were up at camp, and Angelo, one of the neighbors, he came over. And so at this point now, we've had Uncle Chris on the podcast. We've had Uncle Tim. So Dad's got 3 brothers. There's 4 boys. So we've had Dad on. Dad's all about it. We've had Uncle Chris on. He's all about it. Uncle Tim was on last week with Breedinum Radio. And so like Angelo was sitting there with you guys at camp, and I guess you were there. I'll let you tell the story. But the moral of it is Uncle Mike thinks that this is just ridiculous that we're doing this and that nobody gives a shit what we're talking about. So,
he's like, what the hell do you guys know? And I told him last weekend, I'm like, we're not trying to be experts. We're just sharing our experiences and having a good time with it. You know, people can take it or leave it, you know, however they see it. But, you know, we've been in the woods a long time, and we like to, you know, share our experiences. So that's pretty much what we're doing with it. He's looking at it like, you guys ain't experts, you know, this or that, or, you know, let them figure it out themselves. And it's like, you know, all of our mentality is different. We want people to go out and enjoy it. If they need to pick something up, you know, maybe we know something they don't, or, you know, just sharing our stuff and getting it out there, trying to help people out, you know. So we got up in the morning, and Dad and Mike and Angelo were sitting at the table, and Dad was joking about putting something on the podcast. And Ange didn't even really know about what we were doing, apparently. And Dad, he goes, podcast? You guys got a podcast? And Dad was like, yeah, we got a podcast. And then Uncle Mike was like, yeah, it's stupid. And then he's like, what's the podcast? And Dad was like, it's Pert Near Outdoors Log Talk. And he was like, see, we got koozies. He's like, you guys got koozies? He's like, oh, man, this is legit. And then Dad's like, you want to be on it? And he's like, oh, I'd love to be on it. He's like, all about it. Like, you guys got a great thing going here. This is a good idea. And you could tell Uncle Mike was just sitting at the other end of the table like, are you freaking kidding me? Because Ange and Mike always hang out all the time. And I think Mike thought Ange was going to be on his side with that. It was just funny to sit there and watch Uncle Mike. You know, you could tell it, like the life was just sucked out of him, because the one guy that he probably thought was going to be on his side was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I look forward to that. That was Ange's whole point. That was Ange's whole point. He was like, you know what? He was like, you guys are putting hunting out there for what it is. You know, he's like, you're not out there killing the biggest bucks. He goes, how many years have I been hunting up here? He goes, I killed 1 buck last year. I think it was almost 10 years before that he had killed a buck. So and that was with us. The last buck he shot was with us, right?
He was like, that's not what it's about. He goes, it's about coming up here on the weekend and hanging out with you guys and the camaraderie. And he was like, that's what people need to know about, you know. So
preach it,
he was
Jim. He gets
definitely all for it.
It's awesome. That is awesome. So that's the plan for the weekend. That's the plan. Hopefully they are breeding them this weekend. It very well could be. So hopefully we'll have some reports on that for next week's episode. But
yeah, hopefully. So
you know what I've learned over the last month and a half of doing this podcast. You know what I've learned, Jim?
What have you learned, Bill?
It costs me money to do this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I didn't realize how much a recorder would cost. So Dad bought one originally, and I felt guilty because I was the one that was using it. And so I went out and bought a recorder, and we got the monthly fees and everything that come with having this stuff posted up. Didn't know that existed. So along came an opportunity. So a buddy we went to high school with, Troy, he's kind of moved all over the country. He's a big skier. He was just moved out west, and he skied for years, and he moved back to Vermont and worked at a ski resort there. So randomly, Troy reaches out to me like 3 weeks ago, and he's working for a company out that's based in Utah. He lives in Utah, but he's working for this company that's based out of there. Yeah. And what they do is they work with people like us that are, have a platform, whether it be on social media or have a podcast, whatever. And they work with merchants, so companies are the merchants, and they set up affiliate programs with folks like ourselves that have a podcast or have some kind of a platform to, talk about product or do reviews and things like that. So sounds like a pretty awesome opportunity, and we're getting ourselves going with that to kind of help cover some of the costs of doing the podcast. So wanted to touch on that with the group here and the listeners. So the way that you can help us to kind of fund this podcast It's very easy and it's very simple. I think it's something that everyone's already doing, but we can kind of benefit from that to help us, kind of keep this thing going and pay some of the bills per se. So what we've done is we've selected a few companies that we all are currently using their products already. Just kind of selected a few of them to start. And the way it works is there's a link on our Instagram profile. So if you go to our Instagram profile, there used to be a website address there for our podcast. Now, there's a link there that says it's a Linktree link. So it says Linktree/Pertinier Outdoors. So if you click on that link, whether you're on your phone or on your computer, it doesn't matter. It'll take you to a separate website that'll give you. Right now there's 5 different links on there. So the 4 companies that we have selected to do some work with to start, number 1 is going to be Buck Knives. So Buck Knives is a company that I think all of us in our entire hunting group, that's just about the only knife we use when it comes to field dressing deer. Everybody's got a different buck knife. We all have some different models, but had them for years. They're great knives. So I thought that'd be a good company to kind of partner with per se. So we've got Buck Knives. The next is Black Ovis. Black Ovis is it's an online store for everything you possibly need. It's kind of like a Cabela's, but it's online. There isn't really a walk-in store. Maybe there is out west, but I know I've been doing business with Camel Fire primarily, which is a kind of a sidebar for Black Ovis. And so Black Ovis it's an awesome place to get online and buy gear. They've got everything you need from bino harnesses to camo to arrows, you name it. They've got it all there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I bought a bunch of the merino base layers this year off of Camel Fire, but they're Black Ovis. Very nice stuff.
Yeah, and I'm working on getting the Camel Fire link up on here as well, because that's a daily check for me. I'm always, every morning I fire up Camel Fire to see what they're running specials on today. It's majority of the stuff I bought through Camel Fire, just because why pay full price when you can, wait for the next model year to come out. And what they're doing is it's all good quality gear and names like Sitka, and they've got a lot of scopes on there and optics and Hunting Made Easy, Hawk, like all those brand names, they've got that stuff on there, and you can get it at a pretty good discount. So that's Black Ovis. The next is an obvious one that everyone knows, and that's Cabela's. So I do a ton of shopping there as well. You can get everything under the sun at Cabela's. Everybody knows that. And then the last company that we've got that we're partnered up with right now is Mountain Ops. So Mountain Ops is a supplement company. Everything from your daily multivitamins and probiotics to pre-workout and protein and meal replacement powders, things like that. So I've been using Mountain Ops for probably going on 4 years now, 3-4 years, and I love the product. I take their daily multivitamin every day, use their pre-workout every time before I go to the gym. I love their stuff. So the way that you can help us with those brands that we just listed is by using the link. If you're going to do any shopping with them, is go on to our Instagram page, click on the link in our profile, and it will bring you to that website that has those 4 companies that I just listed on there. If you click on that link, it will take you to their website, and you were directed there from us. So anything that you purchase on that site, we will get credit for it, and at the end of the day, we will get essentially commission for that sale. So it's a pretty sweet thing. It's a lot of the stuff you're already shopping for, you're already doing, especially with the holidays coming up. I can see stores like any of those stores, but especially Black Ovis and Cabela's in particular. If you're asking for something from your wife or your girlfriend or your mom or your dad or brother or sister, whatever, sister, cousin, whatever you got going on, you can tell them, hey, go to Pertinier Outdoors. Those guys are awesome. Use the link in their bio or in their bio, and kind of teleport from there into those websites, and we'll get credit for any of those sales. So, if you do use that, we really appreciate it, and it's definitely helping us fund this.
Does that get them any discount, or is it just using our link?
Right now, no. It's something that I'm working towards. Once we get this up and running, it's kind of hard when you're an upstart podcast and haven't done much business. The way that this typically works is that you kind of get yourself going. And then once you have a relationship established with that company, then they'll definitely, whether we could do free shipping but a lot of these companies, they're running promotions every day. So,
right.
As long as you get to their website through us, you can take advantage of any of the stuff that they're currently doing, and we would just get a slice of that pie. So, not yet to answer your question, Jimbo, but hopefully we will at some point.
Yeah. So use the damn link.
Yeah, use the damn link. Going broke over here. Freaking checkbook.
Pert near going broke.
Pert near going broke. Between me, you, and Danny, we're all like buying stuff, and we're not keeping track of who's spending money on what. And so we've got knit hats coming. We got to get those picked up today. So we've got some knit hats that we've got with some nice leather patches on them. So we've got some of that stuff coming along. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And the koozies that Danny freaking well overpriced. Who the hell's going to pay $5 for a koozie? I
already got a drawer full of them.
Yeah, right. So I'm working him on that. The kid's he's a freaking CPA
swindler.
And everything's about the money. Yeah, he's a swindler. He's a typical Pollock,
Yeah. I made these for a penny. I'm going to get $5 for them,
Right. They are nice koozies, though, I'll tell you what.
No, they are. Keeps your beer super cold. Hand warm.
Super cold.
Beer cold.
Hand warm, beer cold. Can't get any better.
Nope.
Melts in your mouth, not in your hand, All right. Let's wrap this shit up, and let's meet up at camp tomorrow and freaking start laying them down, Jimbo.
Start feeding them. So, yeah, definitely can't wait for this weekend, and hopefully we'll get some stuff out. It's going to be tough on Saturday to be doing any live feed stuff. It's going to be so freaking cold, but we'll see what happens.
It is going to be cold.
Hopefully by 8 o'clock I'll be sitting there with a beer over Frankenbeans.
Yeah. We'll be drinking a 30-pack of Busch over Frankenbeans is what we'll be doing.
That sucker hits the ground, I'm done hunting for the day.
Yeah.
It's a party.
I would say that would be well earned.
All right. Well, we'll catch you tomorrow.
All right. See you, buddy.
See you.
Bye.
Hello.
Hey.
Finally got on. Sorry, I had to clean the car off a little bit.
All right. I was wondering if you were going to have to do that. We got a little snow.
Yeah, I drove my truck yesterday with the bad roads, but can you hear me okay? I got my AirPods in.
Yeah. So what's happening, Uncle Chris? Welcome to Breedinum Radio.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's quite the honor.
Yeah. Man. The honor is all mine.
Yeah. I don't have the success story that your previous guests have had. I know it's been fun to listen to the past few weeks. You got a lot of people put down some great bucks. But I guess mine's an important story too, because you don't always get them.
Nope. So why don't we get into that if you'd like? So you were off last Friday, right? And that's kind of when you had your opportunity present itself?
Yeah, well, I didn't take the day off, but I was going to work local, and I basically was going to, sneak in a morning hunt with the time change. It's not too bad. So, I know you had my brother Tim on earlier, Uncle Tim. He told our story of the week before. We saw a lot of bucks. He actually got fortunate. He shot that 8-point that he had missed on Saturday, and I had seen the same 2 bucks but didn't get a shot at them. So either way, I was excited to get back out there. From what we saw, all the bucks were moving. So I got out Friday morning and I actually went to the stand that Tim had missed the 2 bucks out of, which was on the edge of a cornfield with a big thicket and a swamp behind me. I had never hunted the stand before, but I knew where the location was. So I basically got in there kind of late, with the time change. I'm walking out there and it's like 6:25 and things are starting to lighten up and kind of mad at myself. But as I'm sneaking down the hedgerow between the corn and the woods, about 100 yards away, I see a deer pop out and then go back in the woods, which is past my stand. So I just took my time. Then I actually saw a coyote come out of the corn and then go back in. But I got down there and
I found the stand that was about 40 yards from the edge of the corn in the woods, and I snuck in there. I got up in the stand, got comfortable, and I remember thinking I should have my bow in my lap because there was no branches to hang a bow on, or they had to hang behind me on the side of the tree. So it was exactly 6:40. I grabbed the bow, I set it in my lap, and no sooner had I set the bow in my lap, I looked straight ahead of me at the cornfield, and here comes the deer. He just comes around the corner from the corn, straight at me, basically right on the path I just walked in 5 minutes before. And honestly, kind of, caught me off guard. I was surprised, and I saw that it was a buck. I didn't focus on the antlers too much, but it was a decent buck. I saw that, the antlers were out to the ears. It was at least a 2.5-year-old deer, and at that stage of the game, I was willing to take him. So all I could do was sit there because he came in. There was nothing in between us, and it was dead quiet. And he's walking up. And he's about 20 yards away, and he's kind of looking up at me. And I'm like, geez. I go, he's looking at me in the stand. Then he's looking down. He's looking around. Then he looks back up at me, and I'm like, I'm going to lose this deer. I go, he's not coming any closer. Well, he turned like he was going to walk away, and when he turned, I stood up and drew my bow back, and he must have caught the movement, and he startled me. He went about 5 yards further away from me, and I got adjustable sights. I was set at 20 yards, so he went a little bit further away, and he stopped, and right when he stopped, I bleeded anyways, and he was pretty much broadsided about 26, 27 yards, and, I was so nervous, I was afraid he was going to take off. I made the shot real quick. I set the pin. I aimed a little high because I was worried about being at 20 yards, and I knew he was further than that. And I just settled in quick, and I shot. And I heard the arrow hit him, and he turned and ran back towards the cornfield, and he ran along the edge, and I could watch him, run down the edge of the woods between the corn. And I thought I saw the arrow sticking out of him, which concerned me. I'm like, geez, I hit him in the shoulder? And he ran, and he almost stumbled a little bit. He ran about 70 yards, and then I saw him stop, and he turned, and he was heading east, and he stopped, and he turned, and directly south he walked, right in the woods behind me, basically, probably about 100 yards away. Now, there was a lot of snow on the trees and the branches, and I lost sight of him. He was walking. And I just stood up in my stand there because I'm like, oh, somewhere to go. And I lost sight of him for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden I see him again. And he was now he's directly east of me. And he's still heading south. And then he just disappeared. So I kind of settled in. I was excited. I sat down. And I started seeing blood. So, his tracks, I stayed off to the side, and I could see blood spraying out. I hit him on the right side, so, and I knew the arrow didn't go all the way through. So I got about 40 yards, then I found the arrow, and it was kind of strange that the arrow was broke off, and the broad, and I went by 20, 30 yards. I basically got down to where he turned to go south, and I know he had stood there because I'd watched him before he walked in the woods, and there was probably 3 bits of blood about, 6 inches in diameter. So I punched through the shoulder, or I was kind of confused. Maybe I hit just behind the shoulder, or maybe I hit kind of high because I was worried about that. But either way, the blood was decent. And I'm like, well, this is pretty easy to track. So I followed him, and he crossed about 3 feet of water. Even in the water, I could see some blood on like leaves on the surface. But the blood was dying down at that point. And I got just into the woods, and I found a bed with a little bit of blood in it. So I'm like, this is really good if this deer bed down this quick. And then I went another 40 yards to where I had last seen him, and I found 2 beds there, about 10 feet apart. One of the beds had blood where the deer's shoulder was, and you could tell where it was. And
hey, Chris.
So I just had to follow the tracks, and I eventually got on what I thought was his tracks without a doubt. And I followed him probably another 30 feet, and there was no blood. And at that point, I decided to break off the search. I was just gonna leave it alone, let him set. I figured he was hurt pretty bad if he had bed down that many times. And I just basically went to work. And then about 3:30 that afternoon, my brother Tim, who he had on the show last week, got out of work and came up and met up with me. And I walked him through the whole scenario. We tracked him again. And once again, we were just following, his prints, his tracks. And he went right down into like a drainage cut that goes around a small, like 3-acre piece of brush and woods. And there was a heavy trail heading right towards that brush. And I'm like, I guarantee he walked right in there. I go, he's probably bed down. I'm thinking he's probably dead in there. So we followed his tracks into, there was probably about 30 feet of tall goldenrods with a deer trail. And we didn't have any more blood, but, I could see the trail. I assumed he went straight in that thicket. So we went really slow. We went in the thicket. We searched the entire thicket. I mean, I'm expecting to find a body. And there's nothing. There's no blood. There's no deer. And around this thicket, to the east and to the north, are probably 100 acres of cornfields. And we're just surrounded by these cornfields. So I'm like, geez, I don't know where he is. I go, I don't have any more blood. It was really, really disappointing. I hate to hurt a deer and not find it. It's one of the worst scenarios I would have rather just missed him, to be honest with you. But so basically, we gave up. I'm like, I don't know where he is. I thought about calling the dog tracker in. I said, we've already walked around here a lot. The dog would probably get confused. If we got the deer's blood on our feet, we've used them before, and these guys do a great job. But, if I was going to use the dog tracker, I probably should have called them in right away that morning. So long story short, I was disappointed. I said, well, I'll go back out tomorrow morning. I don't even feel like shooting a deer at this point because I felt really bad. But I'm like, I'll go out and hunt, and then I'll continue the search. So Saturday morning, my nephew Sean came out with me, and things were quiet. The clock was pretty cold. At 9 o'clock, we got down because I still had that deer on my mind. So we went back over, and I walked Sean through the scenario, and we did the same thing. But when we got to this little drainage cut and this 30 feet of goldenrods, Sean did a great job, and it was obviously daylight out. But Sean, he found a little bit of blood, so we know that he had a trail. I said, there is a couple small trails to the left and right. Why don't we search those? And sure enough, I turned to the right, started heading south in this goldenrod patch in the drainage cut. And after about 20 feet, I actually found blood high up on some leaves on the goldenrods. Not a lot of blood, but I could tell where it brushed the right side of the deer. So I called Sean over. At that point, I realized the deer had never gone in that little 3-acre thicket that we had been around the night before. So I kind of had my hopes up. I'm like, okay, we got something here, and we tracked. It was that whole drainage cut. It's like a half circle that goes around this little 3-acre thicket, and then there's nothing but thick stuff on the south side of it. And we basically found a few more spots of blood. We tracked them right to the edge of the cornfield where the drainage cut ended, and then there was no more blood, but there was a heavy trail that went into this thicket to our south, and there was probably 3 heavy trails that went in there. So I said, this deer must have gone in one of these trails, and he's probably dead up in here. So we probably spent an hour and a half on our hands and knees meticulously searching each trail. There was still snow on the ground, so if there's a body, I would have seen it. And there was a lot of little bushes in there that actually had green leaves on them that were about 2 to 3 foot tall. It was thick in there. I'm like, if he had rubbed against these leaves on his right side, he would have left blood in. I mean, we searched the entire thicket, went a few hundred yards in, couldn't find anything, no blood. We turned around and came back to the last spot we had blood. And then, my nephew Sean's like, he goes, well, the deer might have gone in the corn. And I'm like, well, he could have, because there was some heavy trails going in this corn, and the deer have been laying in there pretty good. So I really had nothing to go on at that point, and we walked along the corn. We looked up each row. I actually went in the corn about 30 or 40 rows. But like I said, these cornfields are huge. And I had to give up at that point. I didn't know where this buck was. My honest opinion is he's probably dead somewhere. I don't think he could have survived that wound. But, maybe I'm wrong. But, I got a big fixed blade, broadhead. It was in him, and there was some good blood in the beginning. And the big thing I have, Billy, is that he bed down. And the fact that he bed down that quick numerous times, I feel that deer was hurt. So I hope he survived. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not really convinced that he did survive that. But it's deer hunting. It happened to me about 6 years ago, where I hit a nice buck and lost it. So it's been a great season. My bow season is over, and I had a lot of fun. I know you and I have talked a lot, and I did a lot of, like my brother Tim, I mixed it up this year. I went to a lot of state land. I did public land hunts in Honeoye, numerous spots. I went over to West Valley, did a NYSERDA hunt. I signed up, and where they have parcels that you can sign up, they allow 10 hunters a day in there. I took my climber and had a fun hunt over there. I saw like 7 or 8 deer a couple weeks ago. And I had, that weekend that Tim shot his buck was one of the best weekends I've had in years. I saw 5 bucks in one morning. 2 of the bucks that Tim shot came by me, but I couldn't get a shot at them, but they're absolutely beautiful deer. But I still have not seen chasing does, and I saw them in their peaking phase, and whether we missed it in work week, but I've hunted a lot behind my house before work, and even last week, I'm seeing mature does just walking around there, and normally behind my house is a good indicator. I can see them out my kitchen window. If there's a hot doe, and there'll be bucks chasing them. So I don't think there's a lot of does in heat right now. I know a lot of predictions are, for the 12th to the 15th. I think this weekend's going to be really good because I just have not seen any bucks chasing does. But I have seen a lot of scrapes opened up in the past week, and sign like that. But I still see mature does walking around without any bucks following them.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting that you and I were talking yesterday, and you said you were seeing scrapes opened up, and we had talked maybe 3 weeks ago, like kind of the end of October, and we were seeing a bunch of scrapes. And then everybody I've talked to in the last week or two, including what I've seen out there, not seeing the scrapes getting hit. So it's very interesting that just in the last few days that you've seen that. And like this morning, I'm driving. I know you drive a lot for work this morning. I'm driving down the road and saw right out in the middle of a field at 7:30 in the morning, bright as bright. See a doe standing there and a buck standing right next to her. So I don't know, maybe we are, the full moon, I think the full moon's tomorrow. And, this weekend, it's funny because it's typically how we are every single week. It's like, we're up past that weekend. It was okay, but this weekend's going to be the weekend. But I don't know. I mean, you got the rifle in hand this weekend, and, you just got to feel confident about having the snow on the ground, knowing that the full moon is tomorrow. It could definitely be a pretty deadly opening day once you get some people in the woods and hopefully some does in heat. It could be a deadly combo.
Yeah, I think it is. A lot depends on the weather. I think it's like 16 degrees right now. It feels like January, but this morning before I left the house, I did see 2 doe out in the gully behind my house, actually right underneath my tree stand. They were out there feeding, and then they both bed down. And I got my binoculars out. They looked like, mature doe, or maybe it was a doe and a little one. But, I don't think it's it. I've hunted a lot. I've hunted almost every other day for the past couple of weeks, even if it's, I might hunt for a half hour, that first light behind my house. And just not seeing it, but, on the farmland we have, which is 3 miles from my house, like I said, 2 weeks ago, we saw a ton of bucks out walking around seeking. And then last weekend, I saw even more scrapes, opened up. And with the fresh snow, they were done overnight. I know Friday morning in my woods. On Saturday morning, I hunted my ladder stand, and there's a brand new scrape right in front of my stand about 10 yards away, and there was one behind it. So there's still activity, and, we haven't but I'm hopeful that it still hasn't hit yet, but I'm kind of sad that archery is over for me. I want to put a lot of work with the elk hunt this year. I bought a new bow, spent a lot of money. I shot all summer. I did a lot of preparation, so I still, gun is fun. It's nice.
Oh, that AT&T got no signal. Hello.
Hey, it's still there, Billy?
I'm here.
Okay.
What happened?
Yeah, sorry. It's AT&T, I guess. Not good reception down in these hills. I'm heading to Southern Tier today.
Yeah, that's all good.
But,
You've kind of been in and out a little bit, but so
may not be great for the listeners.
No, it's fine. Screw them. We only got 6 of them anyway, so it's just you and Dad and Jimmy and I and a couple other people that listen. So they'll deal.
We might only have 5 after this one.
Yeah.
No,
I don't do it for the listeners. I do it for me.
Yeah. Now listen. What you do is a great service to the hunting community, and I'm very proud of you for. I know it's a lot of work to put this together, and I do a lot of time on the road, so I listen to your podcast a lot, and I started listening to Todd Waldron with his podcast, and congrats to him. It was cool to hear him on your show the other day. It's great to hear New York hunters, whether it's Western New York or Adirondacks, tell their experiences, and I learn a lot from everybody that I hear.
Yeah, thank you for that, and I'm really enjoying it. I think, I get a lot of enjoyment out of talking to all these different people and, hearing everybody's story. I think everybody has a story to tell, so kind of giving everyone the platform to share what they're seeing out there, and, I kind of look forward to hunting season getting behind us and, kind of getting some different level of conversation on here and get some different guests on. It's super challenging during the heat of hunting, where we're trying to, every minute we have that is available, you try to be in the field. And then, I've just recently started a new position with the company I work for, and, you got the wife and kid at home that, and you want to make sure you're doing what you need to do at home. So it's definitely, there's a lot happening, but really enjoying this last month and a half, 2 months doing this podcast, and appreciate that positive feedback.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been a fun season. It's been fun to listen to everybody's stories, and I know myself and Brian Davis are looking forward to getting on. We'll give you our big Colorado elk hunt wrap up. I'm sure after deer season, that'd be a great conversation to have.
Yes, maybe we could have a couple adult bevies and shoot the breeze. That would be fun. So, what's your plan for for this weekend? Are you hunting Lima? Are you going to be home from? I know you're traveling for work. You going to be home in time?
I will. Yeah, I'll be home from New Hampshire Friday, and I'm going to go up to the cabin. I'll visit all you guys, do our opening night tradition, but then I'm going to drive home. And, my tradition is to hunt our farmland in Lima. So I've got some new stands up. The one stand that I saw the $5 out of, I have not hunted since that day. So I'm going to go back to an opening day with my muzzleloader, and I'm excited. Hopefully be able to put a nice buck down. Should be a lot of fun. I think the struggle is going to be staying warm, in the stand. But I think one difference between where I hunt and you guys hunt in Naples is I really can't get down and walk around much. I'm hunting farmland. I don't want to push it this early. So we pretty much tough it out in our stands, go home for lunch, and come back in the afternoon. We really don't do any deer drives till later in the season.
Yeah, we'll have to. I definitely want to try to get together, and season's going to slip away really quick here, so we should try to get a group of us together. I'd love to go do some still hunts on some of the public land down there near camp, and get a group of us together to go do some still hunts. I think we could do some damage over there, so we'll have to stay in touch with that, and excited to hear that you guys are coming up to camp and on Friday night. It's one of my favorite parts of the season is just the night before opening day, everybody coming up to the cabin. So look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, I do too. And, one last thing I forgot to tell you that I do have a guy at work who's always wanted to hunt. He's never had anybody to show him how to hunt. So he lives over in Syracuse. So I told him what doe permits to get. I found a big chunk of state land over in Syracuse. So I'm going to get out there and try to mentor him, take him out deer hunting, and I might even bring him out this way when we do one of these big state land still hunts with you. I know Davis wants to do one too, but I was going to bring this guy out and try to bring him into the fold and teach him how to hunt, because he really has the desire to, of course, mentor a lot of these younger hunters.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Good for you for doing that. That's awesome. Yeah,
it should be fun. But I'll be seeing you Friday night, and I think we're gonna have some great stories after this weekend.
I hope so. All right, you drive safe travels, and we'll see you Friday night. Thanks for jumping on. All right, see ya.